Hello there.
Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. There were 3 books in the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series written by Alvin Schwartz that I was not allowed to read as a kid, but secretly did. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But they were really creepy stories. Since they were short stories, this movie has a lot of that influence to a certain extent and is directed by Andre Ovredal. I probably slaughtered that, so I apologize. But this movie follows Stella, Ramon, and their friends that start to experience very scary and weird things happening in their town after they come across a book in a haunted house. The further they get to discovering what's behind this, the more terrifying the situations get. I didn't recognize the director or any of the actors or actresses in this film, but having read many of the short stories as a kid and being a sucker for scary movies, I wanted to check this one out. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. The plot of this movie follows this group of friends as they try to figure out why these crazy things are happening around their town. They're chased by a set of bullies into a haunted house, locked in there for a little while, and they come out with a book seemingly to have been written by a woman who was murdered in the house. There's a lot of folklore in the town about that woman having died in that house. Naturally, the kids are pretty intrigued. Stella then notices that the book starts writing its own story before her very eyes, and that's when all hell breaks loose. I think what keeps the plot in this movie going is that it serves both as a horror / creepy film, but also as a mystery. And this mystery dynamic in the movie pushes the plot along pretty nicely. And although there are some jump scares, this movie is naturally creepy just from the story that it's telling. So you're involved because you want to find out what's going on, and you're also getting ready to be scared by whatever's coming up on the screen. So plot gets a thumbs up. 2 is family friendliness. After watching this movie again, I realized that a lot of what you see on screen is pretty disturbing. There's violence, there's grotesque images, there's very minimal profanity, there's no sensuality or sexuality. There are some coarse jokes, but they're pretty tame. One other thing I did want to point out as well is that there are some racial undertones having to do with Ramon, but they use it to tell the story of Ramon and they don't beat us over the head with it. But with all things considered, I have to give family friendliness a thumbs down. 3 is acting and script. While I didn't recognize any of the kid actors in this film, they did a really great job. Zoe Colletti as Stella and Michael Garza as Ramon definitely were the dual protagonists in this film, but a lot of the assisting cast did a great job as well. And the script of this movie is actually good. The dialogue between characters, especially Chuck and Augie, is hilarious. Not only does it allow them to build character and also get some exposition, they do it in a natural way, so it doesn't seem like they're just exposition dumping on you. It seems like normal conversation between teenagers would. And the character arc of Stella in the movie, from beginning to end, is really well written, with the supporting role of Ramon and his own character arc in the film. And it's well balanced, which is super rare for horror / thriller films. So I have to give acting and script a thumbs up. 4 is character development. Like I said, the character arc of Stella in this film is really well done. They address some past wounds in her life that she has to face in this film, and the arc of that story is beautifully told. Chuck and Augie serve their role building the character of Stella and Ramon and each other, while not stealing the limelight completely off of the main characters. But you get enough context from their home situations and their life that you feel like you know them enough to enjoy them in this movie. Ramon is a bit mysterious, but we start getting to know his character as he starts getting close to Stella, and there's a really wholesome friendship that develops between them as they help build one another up and strengthen one another in their own weaknesses and insecurities. So this movie focuses on the characters it needs to and makes sure that you have just enough background of the other characters to enjoy them for who they are and not be wondering about them in the film. So character development gets a thumbs up. 5 is CG. Honestly, I was surprised at how much I liked the CG in this film. The things you see on screen are creepy, but you're able to accept them for the unnatural things that they are and enjoy the film in the process. But unfortunately, a lot of the movie is shot in a dark darker light. In those moments, it's really challenging to see what's going on in the scene unless you have all of the lights off, and even then, some of it's still pretty difficult to see. A lot of my favorite moments were when you could clearly see what was happening on screen. There was enough light where you could tell what was going on. And some of the shots in this movie are really well done. There's a scene specifically involving Chuck and one of the terrors that he's having to face that was extremely creepy just in the way that they filmed it. So I was very impressed by that scene and enjoyed it a lot. While they did shoot scenes with dark light that made it hard to see things on screen, I enjoyed what CG I did see so much that I have to give CG a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. I have seen this movie twice already, and I can say that I enjoyed it both times. The issue that I run into horror movies typically is that they're all just about having the most scares or the most blood, but this movie is creepy, has a good story, well-balanced characters, and with a runtime of only an hour and 48 minutes, everything about this movie is well-balanced, especially when you consider the source material that the director was working with. A lot of horror movies are one and done, and maybe you break them out at Halloween again just to scare yourself again, but this movie I would say is definitely rewatchable regardless of the time of year. So rewatchability gets a thumbs up. I had a lot better time watching this movie than I thought I was going to. I thought I was walking into what was going to be another cheap horror movie based on these creepy short stories that we read as a kid in elementary school underneath our desks in the dark. But what I ended up seeing was a well-told story. So with that being said, I have to give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie way more than I thought it was going to. Enjoyed the characters, enjoyed the creatures, and enjoyed a handful of really well shot scenes. Now, one issue I do have with films like this is when they set themselves up for sequels, and this one did. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that yet, but if they do film a sequel, then I hope it's as good as the first one. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.